Hi, so today I want to talk about life in our universe and how my views have changed about it. So there is this debate about life in the universe, and I used to take that debate seriously because as of yet we have no proof of any alien civilizations outside of our own planet Earth. But just a little while ago I sort of changed my mind of how I view this entire thing. So there are hundreds of billions of galaxies in our universe, each having hundreds of billions of stars. There are more stars than there are grains of sand on all of the beaches on Earth. Just vast, incomprehensible amount of stars, incomprehensible amount of chances for life to arise. And it sort of hit me that it's kind of absurd for us to think that just because we don't see any life, we think there is no life. For now, at least for the time being, as soon as new information comes in, I might change the way I view the world. This is how we should operate as logical human beings if we want to, understand the world and be intellectually honest and all that good stuff. So for the time being, I have come to the way of thinking that there has to be life in the universe. It would be absurd if there isn't. So either one of these two options is true. Either there is life in the universe and way more life than we could imagine, way more different forms of life than we could imagine. We used to think that life could only evolve on planets like us in the Goldilocks zone of planets being habitable, of not too cold, of water freezing, and not too hot, of water evaporating. This is really human-centric because that was all we knew, the biology of life on Earth. So we look at things that we know for sure that water-based life is possible. But as we're beginning to look around even on our own planet, which we haven't even fully explored, how crazy is that? We don't even know all the species on our planet, which is quite interesting to think about, that new species keep being discovered. So we find extremophiles, these organisms that are able to live in extreme cold, organisms that are able to survive as some kind of hibernating things in outer space, in the vacuum, organisms that are able to live in acidic environments, organisms that are able to live in the atmosphere, organisms that are able to live deep in the ground, even on our own planet. The variety of life is just amazing and beautiful to think about. So as we have seen that more and more life is possible and different ways how life could be, also our ways of looking for life have changed, and our kind of range of what we think is possible has expanded a lot. So either life is possible and there is lots of life in the universe, we haven't just detected it. And in a moment we can talk about why we haven't yet detected life. One of the reasons being that space is really big and the distances are huge. Just yesterday I was watching one lecture and they were talking about the galaxy that is 1 billion light years away, and it's moving away from us 30,000 kilometers per second. And I heard that and I was like, wow. Of course the universe is expanding. There is this dark energy, and the more space there is, the more space is created, the more space there is, the more dark energy there is. Dark energy is some kind of property of space, so it can't be diluted. So dark energy makes space expand, and as there is more space, there is more dark energy in that space, making the space even bigger, having more dark energy, making the space even bigger, and you have an increasingly rapid rate of acceleration of everything moving away from us. And this was a fascinating discovery that we had some time ago. So either there is life in the universe, or we just live in a simulation, ancestor simulation, a simulation that was made by our distant grandparents, whatever, and they just wanted to see how life on Earth evolved and what it was like, or maybe they just wanted to make a weird scenario where there's no other life in the universe, they focus only on us. So, maybe that is an explanation. The simulation argument is an interesting thing to think about right now. On one way it really makes sense. In another way, I think there might be some piece of information that when we get that piece of information, the simulation argument would fall apart and it would seem quite ridiculous, and we would look back at, how silly it was that we actually thought that we might live in a simulation. Or it might be the opposite. It might become increasingly more reasonable thing to think that we do live, in fact, inside the simulation. So currently, that's the two options I see, because I cannot imagine life being so rare. This again goes to our human-centric way of thinking that, we came from religion and all of that stuff, and we still have this thing like we are so special, and so we think life is super improbable to start. And so, you know, if we are here, we don't see anyone else immediately, even though we're only able to observe the universe for the past just a few hundred years. So it's like you're in a house and you step outside and you glance at the distance for 10 seconds and then you're like, well, I mean, I'm sure there's no life here. You know, that's kind of how I see it. It's ridiculous. We just begin to see the vastness of the universe and to be able to explore it and to look at it. We haven't even really left our home. We sent some spacecraft almost now out of our solar system. Depends on how we define the age of the solar system, but Voyager gone really, really far away, but still nowhere near into other stars or other solar systems. So, you know, it is, you know, kind of silly for us to say that, okay, you know, we know that, you know, there's no life anywhere else. I would be really surprised if there is no life. There are just so many opportunities for life to arise. You know, it's just currently it's absurd for me to think that there is no life anywhere else, because there's just too many options for life to arise, and life is so versatile. And we are made from the most common elements in the universe. We are not special. We are not made of some special stuff. We are made of the most common elements. If you list the most common elements in the universe and the things that life is made out of and what we are made out of, you pretty much find one-to-one correlation. So we are made of the most common stuff because, you know, the universe and physics is practical. It uses things, it does things in the simplest ways possible. There is no complicated, weird stuff going on. Although, in another way of thinking, there's a lot of complicated, weird stuff going on. So the simulation thing, I don't really take that seriously. It might be totally true, it might be totally ridiculous assumption to make, but it just seems really silly that we just open our eyes and we say, nope, we don't see anything for the first split second, so there must be nothing there. So the universe is incredibly vast and incredibly old. One option would be that civilizations get far enough and then they die out. For some reason, maybe I'm just optimistic at heart, thinking about intelligence and civilizations and life. You know, I just don't think that life kills itself. I think if you're intelligent enough to get quite far, I don't think it's more likely than not that, you know, civilizations kill themselves. I think there is some, you know, sure, there's tension and a lot of aggression and stupidity even now in our world, but I would be surprised that a species really is so dumb to kill themselves. I'm sure there are a lot of species that kill themselves because of whatever accidents or nuclear war or whatever, but mostly I don't take that hypothesis so seriously that life just kills itself, that most civilizations just kind of stumble onto some technology and, you know, blow themselves up. I don't think that is very likely. But, you know, currently we just have limited information, so we have to take seriously options and possibilities that later we might find out to be quite preposterous. Another answer could be that life goes inward. As we advance technologically, we might come to a point where we can create virtual worlds and we can merge into these virtual worlds, not by mind uploading, because mind uploading would kill you. It's the idea of copying versus moving consciousness. If you have a teleportation machine that scans you atom by atom and reassembles you in another place, and this you comes out from this other place and says, oh my god, the teleportation machine worked, what a wonderful marvel of science and technology, you know, that I'm able to be here and the teleportation system worked. But in reality you were killed and a copy of you were made. Because in this thought experiment, how the teleportation machine works is that it scans you atom by atom and disassembles you, and all of the information is sent somewhere else and you're reassembled. And for all intents and purposes, that new you would be 100% convinced that it is you. All your friends, family, anyone else in the world will also agree that is you. It acts like you. It's not weird, you know, different or anything like that. It's exactly like you. But in truth, you died and a new you was built. If the first copying and scanning and disassembling machine would have malfunctioned and not disassembled you, then it would just scan you, every atom of you, and the new you would be created, but you would still be here. And then you would realize, oh, you're still here and you were just scanned and a copy of you were made. So now there's two yous, the original you and the new you. And then someone comes up to you and says, okay, so the machine didn't work and now we need to kill you you're not gonna be like, oh yeah, no problem, kill me because I'm actually there. I'm not here. This is not me anymore because I somehow magically transferred into that body. That's not how it works. If you have a good intuition of consciousness and reality and physics, then you would never step into the machine because you would understand that would be just copying versus moving. You wouldn't be like, yes, I'm actually there. You would be you. The teleportation machine would disassemble you, kill you, and a new you would be created. So mind uploading, copying every single neuron and every interaction and chemistry, everything goes on inside your head, and putting that inside the computer, that wouldn't magically put you as you are right now inside the computer. That would not work that way. It would just create a copy that would 100% believe it is you and all of that. And maybe some people want to do that in the sense that people want to have children. You just like the idea that some part of you, or even identical you, goes on to live, and maybe that is satisfactory for you. But for me, selfish as I am as a human being, I care about my continuation of consciousness. And this teleportation machine or this mind uploading machine would not satisfy, this requirement I have for my own mind to go on and my experience of consciousness. I don't care if a copy of me is running around. I want to be running around. So, that is not satisfactory. But if there is a technology that somehow can, put you into a virtual world, those virtual worlds would be better than our wildest dreams could imagine. It would be so wonderful to live in there. It would be a perfect world. And people, this is a weird thing because people don't understand what perfect means. People say if you go into a perfect world, then you would somehow get bored in a perfect world. By definition, you could not get bored in a perfect world. People say there wouldn't be any challenge and life would be boring. No, in a perfect world, there would be challenges and it would never be boring. It would be perfect. It would be better than your wildest dreams. That's what it means. We wouldn't make a virtual world, different from our own reality if it was boring. That just makes zero sense whatsoever. So I think people's imagination is limited in what heaven would be like and what a perfect world would be like. It truly would be bliss and so enjoyable, fulfilling existence that maybe life forms would be, yes, we want that. And if you could somehow continue your consciousness into that, then that might be a viable option that you would want to do. And maybe all civilization go that route. Right now we're thinking we're colonizing outer space and we want to go everywhere and moon bases and bases on Mars and whatever. But maybe if we get to that point of being able to create those worlds, we look back at our time of wanting to, hustle around in the physical world and we laugh at that because there's so much struggle in that. There's so unneeded energy expenditure. In doing all of that. It's way more simpler to go into this perfect world where you can do all that and way more things you couldn't do in physical reality, and literally would be perfect and better than any normal reality could be. And you could live for incredible amounts of time. And of course, technological singularity, we might be able to upgrade our bodies in all sorts of interesting ways and to have mind enhancements and all of that. So this is just something to think about, and I like to wonder about it for now. I used to take this idea seriously that there is a debate of is there life in the universe? Are we alone? If we were alone, that would be such an, incredible enlightening experience, and what responsibility it would be on humanity if we were the only ones. And that is true. But I don't take that so seriously anymore because it seems absurd to me if we truly were alone, either we live in some kind of simulation that is only for us, or we just woke up and opened our eyes and we haven't seen anything yet. But that is absolutely no solid reason to say that there is no life in the universe. So just wanted to talk about that. For me, currently how I see it, at least for what we know right now, it just seems so unlikely for the universe to be empty. There's just so much out there, incomprehensibly large amounts of space and planets to occupy, and different forms of life to be able to thrive. There are real questions of, why haven't we seen anyone? If a technological species advances far enough that they can build Dyson spheres and harness the energy of their entire stars, and we should see that. We should see stars having solar collectors around them, and these species could colonize space and different planets. But maybe the answer is that they do turn inward. But again, we have limited information, so there's no way for us to currently know. We're just working on what we know right now. So these are just some of my thoughts. So hope this was interesting in some way. If you have any thoughts, please share them in the comments. And of course, thank you so much for watching and take care.